Lord of the Rings LEGO is back, and we all know that the Rivendell set is just the start of a new wave of madness for us crazy fans. Here are 21 sets that are likely to be created over the next few years, and I've split the sets into 5 categories. Under $50, under $100, $100 to $250-ish, an Ultimate Collector Series, and then Microscale. So under $50, I know we all love the super crazy UCS LEGO sets, but we still have to remember that LEGO still does make sets for children, not just us AFOLs. Of course, the sets that are based on buildings are always going to be a little bit more expensive, so at the $50 and under price point, I expect to see more specific moments from the films rather than many specific buildings. Here are a few sets that we might see in this lower price point. First is the Prologue. This may be a bit divisive, but what about Last Alliance of Elves and Men battle packs like we get for Star Wars minifigures like Clone Troopers? I really don't think it would cheapen the IP that much, and it would be a fantastic way for fans to quickly build up their elves and orc and men armies, especially considering it's been so ridiculously expensive to get elves and orcs on the secondhand market in recent years. The Party Field. Moving on to more normal sets, so to speak, the Party Field, with a small contingent of happy, hungry hobbits, would be such an endearing way to create sets for young fans. I mean, what parent wouldn't want their kids to recreate Bilbo Baggins' 11th birthday? Depending on the exact price point, a small version of the party tree could be included, but the main thing is to have a set with as many Hobbit minifigures as possible for kids to enjoy. Keeping things in the Shire, Bucklebury Ferry would be another playset where young fans can recreate one of the early action scenes from the movies. I think you could realistically include all 4 hobbits with 1 ringwraith on horseback, maybe even include a tree or 2 to emulate part of the forest, and naturally, the ferry itself. Flight to the Ford. Keeping things in chronological order, Arwen's showdown with the Nazgul will be an epic chance to not only include a variety of ringwraiths, but also include a little bit of landmass that could potentially attach to the Rivendell set, maybe? A unique Frodo face print would help the value of the set, as would including Arwen's sword. 1 or 2 magic water horses wouldn't hurt the set's appeal either. Aemon Hen. This is the set that I would have wanted as a kid. The climax of the Fellowship of the Ring is the perfect opportunity to create a budget set of an epic battle, because most of the price point could go into some of the Fellowship characters and Uruk-hai army, and who doesn't want that? With the only structure, of course, being a detailed Aemon Hen and possibly a few trees. With other battle environments that we'll discuss momentarily being of likely a higher price point, this would be an epic way to give kids a way to easily get in on the battles for Middle-earth, but without breaking the bank. Moving on to our next price point, under $100, we're gonna start with the Beacons of Minas Tirith. If the LEGO Lord of the Rings reboot ends up having legs, there's no way we're not getting a buildable version of arguably one of the most epic sequences in the entire trilogy, where Pippin evades the guards, lights the Beacons of Minas Tirith, and sets off an amazing orchestral sequence. Gets me every time. Here, I'd expect to see the beacon itself, naturally, alongside the guard shack, the 2 guards, and possibly the beacon of Aemon Den, the second beacon in the chain further off in the distance. It might be a stretch. It might also be a stretch to include a light brick at this price point, but including one would set this one over the top and would be a day 1 purchase for me, absolutely. Entmoot. I can see an Entmoot set created in the style of the Forbidden Forest encounter from Harry Potter, where we got a buildable Grop. A buildable Treebeard and maybe a Quick Beam along with the stone in the middle that makes up the Entmoot, and Merry and Pippin, of course, would round out the smaller set nicely. Depending on how large the Ents are, maybe you could even throw in a 3rd or 4th Ent, since there wouldn't be too many opportunities for other buildable Ent sets, unless they did something like the Last March of the Ents and just gave us like 20 Ents for like $300, $400, $500, which I don't think they're going to do. Osgiliath. Admittedly, this one is lower on the list of probability since despite having screen time in 2 out of 3 movies, it's kind of doomy and gloomy in both films. But certain sections of Osgiliath could make for an epic, slightly higher priced playset, especially if you throw in a legion of orcs and Gondorian rangers, and perhaps even a Nazgul and a Fellbeast. This one would be a joy to build due to the dilapidated nature of the buildings, and you can't forget the sewer system from the extended edition for your minifigures to sneak in and out of. Right alongside Osgiliath is the Battle of Pelennor Fields. Here's an epic excuse to include a buildable Oliphant, a siege tower, the front gates of Minas Tirith, Haradrim armies, and almost really any type of Middle-earth soldier possible outside of like dwarves and elves. This set is also much more likely to see than some due to its prominence in the movies, and I'd also expect this one to be minifigure front loaded rather than necessarily building heavy, although that front gate section could be absolutely stellar, especially if Grond, the Hammer of the Underworld, is included along with a smashable gate. Shelob's Lair. This one I'm a bit iffy on at this price point, but Shelob's Lair with buildable tunnels could be quite epic, especially if the entire tunnel system were were constructed on hinges so that the model could easily open up for play, but also fold up to create this sneaky, spooky looking mountain mess that could double as a fun display piece. Of course, a buildable Shelob would be a requisite, along with unique Frodo and Sam minifigures and orcs from the nearby Tower of Tirith. Like, you could even have a little Tower of Tirith in the distance on top of part of the mountain. It'd be super cool. Okay, moving on to the $100 to approximately $250 price range is the Mines of Moria. Now, full disclosure, the original Mines of Moria set was the only set from the original run that I ever purchased. And looking back now, it was a wee bit lackluster, despite the inclusion of the epic cave troll. In this upgraded version, LEGO could include the Doors of Moria, a new and improved Balian's Tomb, and of course, the Bridge of Khazad-dûm. Or they could break this up into various smaller sets which could be assembled modular style-wise, which may be the way they go. Either way, new Moria sets that utilize LEGO's hyper-detailed focus of the last decade is almost certainly going to occur over the next few years. This one isn't a matter of if, but when. Lothlorien, another buildable playset. This one would include trees. Lots of trees. Too many trees. There's actually not much you can do with the Lothlorien set other than create various tree structures with platforms and such. But of course, you can throw in the Mirror of Galadriel, elven boats, several unique minifigures such as Galadriel, Celeborn, Haldir. I can see this one occurring if the reboot theme does exceptionally well. If it doesn't, I still think LEGO puts out a Mirror of Galadriel set in a lower price range, but we may not get a full-scale Lothlorien. Next, we have Weathertop. Now, admittedly, we already saw Weathertop set 10 years ago, so my guess is that LEGO could kick this one up a notch by creating a much more detailed iteration of the showdown between hobbits and ringwraiths, including much more Nazgul and an overall larger footprint to create this encounter. The added bonus is that the roundness of the set would make it an excellent display piece. I think for sure we're getting this one way or another. Henneth Annwn, another under the radar set that would be a day one purchase for me, no question. I mean, a LEGO hidden hideout behind a waterfall with rangers? Sign me up. I could see a light brick incorporated into the waterfall or in the forbidden pool at the base of the waterfall. And what a great excuse to have a contingent of Gondorian rangers. Naturally, Faramir would be the main minifigure draw for this set, and I bet it would sell sneakily well. Next, Tower of Ecthelion with the Tower Hall. Another set that there's no way we're not getting unless sales for Lord of the Rings LEGO do absolutely abysmally bad. Not only would this set feature the Tower Hall, but also include the Tower of Ecthelion with various levels that could be opened up on the side. Think the recent LEGO Lighthouse, for example. This set would also attach to the aforementioned Beacons of Minas Tirith, naturally. Okay, next we have the UCS Ultimate Collector Series sets. The sets we all want, but can't always afford, but are super fun to dream up anyway. Barad-dûr. So, okay, we know that Barad-dûr is a rumored set for next year, which if true, would be absolutely stunning, especially the rumor of a buildable Sauron. So let's move on to the UCS set that everyone really wants, which of course is Bag End. Imagine a micro-detailed Bag End with various passageways, all the rooms from the movies, and countless fun little artifacts from Bilbo's travels. Thorin's map, a well-stocked kitchen, lots of books and papers, a remarkable labor of love that I'm 100% certain is currently being designed. To truly make this an epic set, LEGO could include the party tree looming over the set, and of course, it would naturally also be able to connect to the aforementioned party field set. Edoras. Arguably one of the most loved structures in all the films, the abode of Theoden King would be sure to delight all LEGO fans, just due to the intense detail and special shades of reds and browns that LEGO would have to include with this set. A separate gate piece would be an added bonus, not to mention we'd get a LEGO Éowyn, Theoden, Éomer, Hama, Wormtongue, and a bunch of Rohirrim soldiers to round out your LEGO army. This one is going to look absolutely stunning and maybe my favorite one outside of maybe Bag End. But there's also Helm's Deep, and this may be the set that, if done extremely well, would excite me the most. I well remember staring at the original Helm's Deep set at Walmart for several years when it first came out, knowing that someday it would retire and that it was unlikely that I could ever afford it before it retired. And this is exactly what happened. I did not get the set, much to my regret. So a new, larger Helm's Deep with a full deeping wall and detailed interior would just send me over the moon. Not to mention the requisite armies of Uruk-hai and Rohirrim soldiers, and just imagine the amazing stop motion animations that would come out of this set from lots of LEGO YouTubers. This one wouldn't retire for years. Orthanc. Okay, so I know we already saw an Orthanc set nearly 10 years ago, but who really got a chance to get their grubby little hands on it? I certainly did not. It kind of flew under the radar, and with LEGO possibly releasing Barad-dûr, I'd have to imagine they're planning for the possibility of a new and improved Orthanc, along with the Ring of Isengard, of course, in order to give fans a new chance to create the two towers themselves. Although for us hardcore Tolkien nerds, are Barad-dûr and Orthanc really the two towers that Tolkien wrote about, or was he referring to other towers? Feel free to debate below. Microscale. Okay, so finally we have the beloved Microscale. Beloved for some people, not so much for others, but think the majestic, wonderful Harry Potter Hogwarts castle from, I believe, 2017 or 2018. I can never get those two dates right. But one way or another, it's a set that I've had in my closet for 2 years and still haven't put together because I don't have any space for it. On that note, I don't have any room for the Rivendell set either, but that's beside the point. Microscale is perfect for those grand, epic structures that would just be too unwieldy even for UCS scale. I think top of this list has to be Microscale Minas Tirith. I've seen some chatter of folks saying that doing a building by building modular style for Minas Tirith may work well, kind of like the summer 2021 and 2022 Harry Potter Hogwarts waves, where you got the hospital wing and Dumbledore's office and Chamber of Secrets, etc. And you could purchase them individually and create your own massive structure piece by piece as time and funds allow. I even include a few of these possible Minas Tirith sets in the list above, as you just heard. The problem with this, though, is that there really aren't too many memorable buildings in Minas Tirith outside of the Great Hall, the beacons, and the front gate, which we already covered in previous sets. Maybe the house is appealing. I don't really see LEGO creating a Tombs of the King set, no offense. I wouldn't be surprised to see these as individual sets, but I do have trouble seeing how they could modular style fit well together in a way that's kind of thematically pleasing based on how the story is. Which is why I think that regardless of what they do with the other Minas Tirith sets, having a Microscale Minas Tirith would be simply stunning is the ultimate LEGO display piece. Especially considering that 20 years ago, the filmmakers used an extremely large model for the movie itself, not built out of LEGO of course, and we basically be getting a smaller version made out of LEGO, which is really what everyone wants. I predict this set would push 10,000 pieces, which sadly means unaffordable, but still super cool. But which Lord of the Rings sets did I miss from this list? Which ones do you think are realistically likely to be released? Let's discuss in the comments, and until next time, happy building.